Let's talk about grocery shopping. Today, we're looking at 7 key grocery items that might skyrocket in value as April approaches. We'll explore the latest news from across the U.S., examining the market forces, supply chain bumps, and global factors that could make certain everyday staples feel like rare treasures. You know, like that first edition copy of your favorite book, except instead of a beloved story, it's a bag of rice. First up, we're talking about flour. You know, that magical powder that transforms into cakes, bread, and all things delicious. Flour is a staple in almost every kitchen, and it's hard to imagine baking without it. Well, get ready for some potential sticker shock in the baking aisle. Prices are on the rise, and it's not just a minor increase. Wheat yields have been fluctuating like a seesaw lately. One season might bring a bumper crop, while the next could be a complete disaster. Droughts, floods, and even the occasional plague of locusts, okay, maybe not locusts, but you get the point, have all impacted global wheat production. These extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and severe. And when the supply goes down, what happens to the price? You guessed it, it goes up. It's basic economics, but it hits home when it's something as essential as flour. Then there are the transportation issues. Moving wheat from farms to processing plants and then to stores is a complex and costly process. Remember the Ever Given, that ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal and threw the entire global supply chain into chaos? That incident was a stark reminder of how fragile our supply chains can be. Yeah, that kind of thing can still happen. Any disruption in the supply chain can cause delays and increase costs. And when it does, it can cause delays and drive up transportation costs, which ultimately get passed on to us, the consumers. Every step in the supply chain adds to the final price. And let's not forget about inflation. Inflation affects everything, including the cost of producing, processing, and transporting flour. It's a ripple effect that touches every part of the economy. Inflation affects everything, including the cost of producing, processing, and transporting flour. From the factory to the store shelf, every step is more expensive. So, what can you do? Planning ahead and being strategic with your purchases can make a big difference. Well, you don't have to build a flour fort in your pantry, although that would be impressive. But having a small stockpile can be a smart move. But it might not be a bad idea to stock up on a few extra bags of flour, especially if you bake regularly. Keeping an eye on sales and buying in bulk can also help you save money. And here's a pro tip: store your flour in airtight containers to keep it fresh longer. This simple step can extend the shelf life significantly. This will prevent it from absorbing moisture and going bad, which is especially important if you live in a humid climate. Proper storage can make all the difference in maintaining quality. Next up, let's talk about cooking oil. Whether you're a fan of olive oil, canola oil, or good old-fashioned vegetable oil, you've probably noticed that the prices have been creeping up lately. And unfortunately, this trend is expected to continue. One of the main culprits is the global edible oil market. It's a complex web of supply and demand, influenced by everything from weather patterns to political instability. For example, palm oil, a key ingredient in many processed foods and a popular cooking oil in its own right, has seen its price skyrocket due to labor shortages in Malaysia, a major producer. And sunflower oil, another popular choice, has been impacted by the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, a major sunflower seed exporter. So what does this mean for you? Well, it might be a good idea to stock up on your favorite cooking oils while you can. And don't be afraid to branch out and try some different types of oil. You might be surprised at what you discover. Let's talk about rice. It's a staple food for billions of people around the world, and for good reason. It's versatile, affordable, and can be stored for long periods. But lately, rice has been caught in its own price roller coaster, and it's got a lot to do with water, or the lack thereof. California, a major rice-producing region in the U.S., has been grappling with a severe drought. This has led to water restrictions for farmers, forcing many to scale back their rice production. And when the supply of something as essential as rice dwindles, well, you know what happens to the price. But it's not just California. Rice production in other parts of the world, like India and Thailand, has also been impacted by factors like extreme weather events and rising fertilizer costs. So, what can you do? First, don't panic. But it might be wise to check your pantry and see how much rice you have on hand. Just make sure you store it in a cool, dry place, preferably in an airtight container to keep out moisture and pests. Now let's move on to canned vegetables, a staple in many households. They're convenient, they last forever, or at least it feels like it, and they can be a lifesaver when fresh produce is out of season or, experiencing a price hike. Plus, they're easy to store and can be used in a variety of recipes. But lately, even those trusty cans of corn and beans have been getting a little bit more expensive, making it harder for families to stick to their budgets. Part of the issue is the rising cost of, everything. Inflation is affecting every aspect of the supply chain. From the metal used to make the cans to the transportation costs to get those cans to your local grocery store, inflation is hitting the canned vegetable industry from all sides. This means higher prices for consumers. But there are other factors at play as well, making the situation even more complex. Natural disasters like hurricanes and floods can damage crops and disrupt supply chains, leading to higher prices for canned goods. These events are unpredictable and can have long-lasting effects. So what's a savvy shopper to do in these challenging times? Well, first of all, don't panic. There are still ways to manage and make the most out of your grocery budget. Canned vegetables are still a relatively affordable and nutritious option, especially compared to some other items on our list. They offer a good balance of cost and nutrition. Stock up when you see sales or use coupons to save money. These small steps can add up to significant savings over time. And don't be afraid to branch out and try different types of canned vegetables. You might discover new favorites that are both delicious and budget-friendly. Let's talk about canned proteins and why they are essential in today's world. We're talking tuna, salmon, chicken, beans, and lentils. These shelf-stable heroes can be tossed into a salad, mixed into pasta, or just eaten straight from the can when hunger strikes. But lately, these protein powerhouses have been flexing their price muscles, and it's got a lot to do with, you guessed it, a confluence of unfortunate events. First, we've got the avian flu. This nasty virus has been decimating poultry flocks across the U.S., leading to a sharp decline in the supply of chicken and eggs. Then there's the issue of feed costs. Corn and soybeans, the main ingredients in animal feed, have also been hit by rising prices due to factors like drought and increased demand from biofuel production. But it's not all doom and gloom. Canned proteins, while seeing price increases, are still a relatively affordable and convenient source of protein, especially compared to fresh meat. So what can you do to navigate these rising costs? Well, you don't need to transform your pantry into a canned protein bunker, but it might be wise to have a few extra cans on hand, just in case. And remember, variety is the spice of life. Don't be afraid to branch out and try different types of canned proteins. You might discover new favorites that are both delicious and nutritious. Next up, let's talk about everyone's favorite beverage that isn't coffee or tea milk. But not just any milk, we're talking about the shelf-stable kind, powdered milk and UHT milk, those mysterious cartons that live on the non-refrigerated shelves. They might not be as glamorous as their fresh counterparts, but they're about to become very important in the coming months. Fresh milk prices have been on a tear lately, and it's not just because those cows are demanding higher wages, though that would be an interesting headline. The cost of feed, transportation, and labor have all been increasing, and those costs are trickling down to your grocery bill. But shelf-stable milk? It's like the cool, calm, and collected cousin of fresh milk. Powdered milk, in particular, is a great option for long-term storage. It lasts for ages, takes up less space than those bulky cartons, and can be used in a variety of recipes, from smoothies to soups to baked goods. UHT milk, on the other hand, is a good choice if you're looking for something that's ready to drink straight from the carton. And finally, let's talk about everyone's favorite comfort food pasta: spaghetti, penne, macaroni, ravioli. The possibilities are endless, and so it seems are the price increases. Remember our discussion about wheat and flour? Well, pasta, being made from durum wheat, is feeling the ripple effects of those rising prices. But don't despair. Pasta is still a relatively affordable food, especially when you compare it to, say, a steak or a fancy artisanal cheese plate. Plus, it's incredibly versatile and can be used in countless dishes, from simple weeknight dinners to elegant dinner parties. So what can you do to navigate the choppy waters of rising pasta prices? First, don't panic buy. There's no need to build a pasta fortress in your pantry, though again that would be impressive. Instead, be strategic. Stock up on your favorite shapes and sizes when you see them on sale, and don't be afraid to try different brands or types of pasta. So there you have it, folks. 7 grocery items that could see some significant price increases in the coming months. But don't let this information send you into a tailspin of panic buying. Remember, a little bit of preparedness goes a long way. By focusing on these 7 items, flour, cooking oil, rice, canned vegetables, canned proteins, shelf-stable milk, and pasta, you'll be prepared for any potential disruptions in April. Stay informed, plan your shopping trips wisely, and keep your pantry stocked to handle any small-scale disruptions with ease. And hey, maybe invite me over for dinner once you've cooked up some of those pantry staples.